Welcome to FitByFood, where we outsmart binge eating without restriction. In this video, I'm going to talk about dissociation and what dissociation means. It's a psychological term coined by Leon Festinger, 1959. So there's a divide where there are two opposite sides. So two contradictive sides. It might be thoughts, it might be beliefs, it might be goals. To give you one example, we might have a person that has problems with smoking cigarettes. And they might have a part that wants to smoke the cigarette, that is dependent on the cigarette and hooked. And we have another side that wants to be healthy. This is a classic example of the psyche being split into two. What happens then is that the person that has this dilemma feels uncomfortability. Because when they're smoking the cigarette, they feel discomfort because they have this conscience inside telling them the other side of the coin. This happens from a fragmentation of the psyche. Yesterday I was getting a tattoo. And it was in a very painful location, and it was a complex design, so it took around an hour and a half. And the whole experience made me really reflect on this particular pattern, because there I was doing the tattoo and it hurt. And I could not focus on what was happening because then it would hurt more. So what the psyche does naturally is distract the mind with thinking about things. So I was looking at things in the ceiling, I was thinking about the future, just trying to make up things that would distract me from the perception that my body was sending me of pain. So I really connected the dissociative thing here from the body being in the moment of experiencing pain, and me trying to protect myself with focusing on a thought pattern, distracting my attention to something else so that I could bear the pain. And this is what dissociation is. It is a coping mechanism. It is a survival mechanism to help the being stand more bearable with the pain. And it doesn't have to be physical pain. It can just as well be psychological pain. And we get taught this very early on. Let's say an example. We have a child that gets picked on at school. And when they get picked on, they experience shame, they experience exclusion, they feel like everyone is against them, and they feel unsafe. Unsafe just being themselves. So they want to hide. And to compensate for this that happens at school, they might, when they get home, try to find some type of relief. So maybe they escape into food. Maybe they eat a lot of food so they don't have to feel the feelings when they get home. The feelings of sadness. Maybe they reality escape. When they come home, they watch movies or series and they really live through the character. And they also give themselves some pity food. They binge on something at home. They buy candy to give themselves some dopamine kicks. And when they come back to school the day after, they are still going through the same thing. People are picking on them and they are feeling sad, excluded, but then maybe the mind is trying to help. And the person really lives in a world of fantasy. Maybe they think about a book they're reading or a fiction or a movie that they saw. So the mind has this survival mechanism of trying to help the body that experiences all these feelings. And we have to be very careful here with the dissociative pattern that we're familiar with of reality escaping. If this person carries this coping mechanism out in the future, they might have a real problem. If this person never sees this pattern in themselves, they might carry this out for the rest of their life. They might not get to a point where they realize that their coping mechanism is not the best way to go about their problem. There's different ways to approach a dissociative pattern, But the first step is to notice that you do have two sides that contradict each other. When you put a label on them, you start to become aware of the dissonance that happens internally. And in our example, if you are watching this video, I assume that eating might be a dissociative pattern for you. It might be your coping mechanism. So you have one part of you that wants to indulge in food, that wants to reward you, and you want to eat things that taste good. And then you have a side of you that is restrictive, that it's harsh, disciplined, and these two sides often clash. The first step is to see when these two sides of your psyche come up. When you experience the dissonance, depending on your form in the day, if you're well rested, if you are eating consistently, then it might be easier to choose the disciplined side. But if you are starving yourself because you binged yesterday, let's say, and then you're trying to compensate with the harshness the next day, it's much harder to choose the disciplined side because the body is experiencing lack, and that freaks out the part of you that just wants to indulge. If you start to name these two energies in you, it's much easier to understand what is actually happening. Because a lot of times we just feel like we don't have control over ourselves. This is what I do here at FitByFood. I talk about this so that you get more consciousness and awareness, so that you can navigate in this psychological dilemma. Completely eliminating your coping mechanism is not how you heal. What you need to do is respect both of them and understand why there even is a fragmentation happening. When you see them both, give them both space, it's much easier to move forward. You can try to find a compromise moving forward. And this is what the FitByFood method is built upon. A compromise and a gentle and loving way to heal this once and for all. The first step is changing your diet. And this we do in module 1 on the getfitbyfood.com website. You switch up your food items so you can still overeat, indulge in food, but you switch to a more healthier diet. So the things that you binge on are still good for your body and good for your health. And they make you lose weight because it's high volume and low calories. So with time, the body will naturally balance itself out. This helps the more disciplined, harsh side be a bit more gentle, because you're not getting as triggered when you do use the coping mechanism. Eventually, when we get a bit more trust between the two dissociative patterns inside, when we quiet the war a bit, we can go into understanding these two opposite sides a bit more. We compromise little by little until we're standing in a place where we don't have this problem anymore. It's a very gentle way, and it's all in your own pace. So thank you for watching, and remember, it is possible to get fit by food.